it seems like it's always win one game, lose one game, maybe two, maybe three with this team right now. But what's up, everyone, and welcome in to your Celtics source, home of your 4-6 Boston Celtics, who just lost, about an hour ago, a NBA Cup game to the Orlando Magic 123-110 in a game that, I'm not going to say that they were playing an inferior opponent. I would say probably the Magic are about their level. And it came down to, a couple bad moments in the fourth quarter. Really an overall theme of fouling too much early in the fourth quarter, which then put the Magic in a bonus. And then when it came time to crunch time, the Magic just attacked the smaller guards in Payton, Pritchard, and Anthony Simons and forced them to foul guys like Wagner and Banchero, putting them on the line and really just work the score up that way because, very similar to the Celtics this year, the Magic, and of course this was a huge problem last year, but the Magic continue to not be a great offensive team and rely, mostly on their defense. Although in this game, they had I think their best shooting night of the season so far. It always feels like every team has their best, shooting night, their best scoring against the Celtics, especially of late. It just feels like everything's going the other team's way in terms of making shots. And it's really, that is the case. And I'm not saying the Magic, are... They were one of the worst shooting teams to start the season, actually just in front of the Celtics, who I believe are dead last in three-point shooting in terms of percentage-wise. But the Magic, they find their rhythm in this game because the Celtics did a great job in the paint defending. The Celtics did a good job of scoring in the paint on their offensive end. But I think something that has continued to be a problem, and we're going to continue to harp on it all season, is the rebounding, right? And it's not like the Magic had a great night in terms of offensive rebounds. I believe they only had 11 offensive rebounds, but on those 11 offensive rebounds, they had 16 second chance points. So you're giving a team just so many free points. And, they're not exactly free, but when guys are out of rotation from crashing the boards or, defending a shot, the shot is a lot more open than it otherwise would have been. And some of these are putback dunks, which are basically free points. Others are, threes and shots around the perimeter, which still take the skill to knock them down. But when you don't have a guy anywhere in the vicinity of you, yeah, it's a lot easier to make that play. But then you have, the biggest problem with the Celtics right now, and it's not their defense. It's not even the rebounding. It's the fact that they can't score themselves right now, which is so surprising. And I think this is the the topic I want to do for our podcast episode tomorrow night. If you have any other suggestions, leave them in the live chat here or after the video, the comment section, and maybe we'll talk about that stuff as well. But for a team that we thought had 4 fantastic scoring guards in Prichard, White, Simons, Brown, if you count Brown, we thought the defense was going to be the problem with this team. And by no means has the defense been the problem. In fact, their defense has been, a top half of the league, or it's, in the top half in terms of points allowed per game. This game, changes a little bit of that standings, but for the most part, and it's not just White, it's not just Simons, there's lots of other guys, but really anybody except Jaylen Brown, who, by the way, just continues to be on a All NBA tear. I mean, we'll talk about Brown in just a second, and Pritchard had a good game as well. I think he got out of this slump, I think, in this game. But everyone else just can't seem to make shots. And, I said it isn't just White, it isn't just Simons, but they are definitely the bulk of it because they're playing the most minutes. And Simons definitely had his minutes reduced in this game. He only played, what did I see he played? I know he only had 4 minutes through the first half or something like that. I mean, he actually ends up with just playing 18 minutes. So he played a lot down the stretch in this game. I think that's partly because Brown was in a little bit of foul trouble along with Josh Minot. But I don't get it. I don't get how Simons, who, was scoring 20 points a night, can come to this team, which, he's in the second unit for the most part, and so he's going up against, worse defenders than he was going up against when he was in Portland. And, I know there's the efficiency thing, whereas, right, when he was in Portland, he was just chucking up shots and didn't care about his efficiency or not. And, he's been urged in this game, on this team, if he wants to play, right, he has to take good shots. He can't just be chucking up shots. But there are lots of moments where, he has open threes or it's one-on-one and he can drive past his defender. And he's just not doing that right now. And I don't know if that's going to come with time. I'm going to keep hoping that, him and Derrick White, their shooting struggles will, fix themselves with time. But we're 10 games in, and Derrick White hasn't changed one bit, right? He goes 1 of 6 from 3 in this game. And listen, he will go 7 of 16 overall, still scores 16 points, and has 10 assists. So you have to give credit to Derrick White for spreading the ball and making plays for others when plays for himself are not going well. But the scoring is what we need right now. You take you put 9 more points on the board for the Celtics, and you take off maybe, 3 points or so that come from a transition off of a missed shot from Derrick White, and you are winning more games than you're not. So when it comes down to why Celtics are losing games right now, there are little moments of defensive problems, little moments of rebounding problems, but for the most part, it just comes down to Derrick White not making shots. And, I wonder if, is it worth trying to drastically change something just for a game? You put him, I know Derrick White is a starter, but you put him on the bench for one game, maybe that jump starts him, something like that, just to see if you can get him going. And I know he's working all day, every day in practice. Maybe he's, fixing his shot form, trying all sorts of things to get into to get his shooting back. But something's got to be done, because it can't be, when everyone else is playing a solid game, it can't come down to just Derrick White missing shots. There has to be, a better way to, or not even a better way, there has to be, that can't be the only reason that you're losing, right? If you're losing because of rebounding, a team thing, you're losing because of, I don't know, just poor defense or poor offense from everyone. But when you're the one guy letting everyone down, that's got to be super frustrating for him. But yeah, we should talk about Jaylen Brown, because he's been the one bright spot. I won't even say one bright spot, because there are multiple bright spots in this season, and in every game. Now, it might be different guys each night, So that's where Jaylen Brown does get more credit than these other guys, where Jaylen Brown is obviously, your number one guy, and he is delivering and carrying his load, which was definitely a question coming into the season, right? We had no idea if he was going to be able to lead the team. And, he's been doing so. I think he scored 30-plus points in almost 4, maybe 5 games. I'm not sure actually if he had 30 points in the Wizards game. Yeah, he did. He had 35 points in just 26 minutes, right? He set the record. And in this game, it wasn't as efficient, right? That's also, I think, a little bit of the reason you lost this game. Only 15 and 28. 1 of 6 from 3 as well. Only 3 assists. He did have 9 rebounds. Right, I think Jaylen Brown is getting better game after game at, getting some of the rebounds that Jason Tatum would get, right? And Jason Tatum was your best rebounder in previous years, and now that you don't have him, and Jaylen Brown's going to be playing, 35-plus minutes a night, you have to get him. You have to be getting rebounds as just part of your role on this team, right? And Jaylen Brown, I'm not sure why I don't think he's a bad rebounder. I just think he's never needed to do it, so he hasn't practiced it. But we see, when he makes a concerted effort to go get rebounds, he's succeeding. What else in this game? We can just rumble through empty stats, right? Payton Pritchard. I guess this is an empty stat. Payton Pritchard definitely had a breakthrough game. We'll see if he can build on this, but 5 of 8 from 3. The best 3-point percentage on this team in this game. What does he score? He has 27 points in 32 minutes, 2 rebounds, 4 assists, a steal, 3 turnovers. But, right now, for the first, 9 or so games, it was Derrick White, Payton Pritchard, and Anthony Simons all struggling. All 3 of your guards that are playing heavy minutes a night. And, that's no recipe for winning games. And so, if Payton Pritchard, at least if he can get into a rhythm and cover a little bit for what Derrick White is going through right now, that's a tremendous help. And, it didn't help, in this game, partly because of that fourth quarter, which we will talk about right after this. But on most nights, if you have Jaylen Brown, you have Payton Pritchard, and you have another guy that are scoring, 25 plus points, and then all you need is little contributions from other guys. And I think we can expect Jaylen Brown, as we have, and we can expect, one of Derrick White, Payton Pritchard, or Anthony Simons to also score, and then all you need is little bits from other guys, which I think is doable, right? This team shouldn't be this bad offensively. I don't know what's going on. But yeah, before we wrap it up, we'll just talk about how, the Celtics did lose these games. And I know I've been sticking to, the bright spots, the silver linings from every game. And that's just a tendency because, I want to see good basketball. I really, despite, even if this team starts tanking, I'm going to try and find the bright spots in each game because, we know it's not, a NBA championship, contending season for the Celtics. And so we can't harp on all the little ups and downs on whether this team can go all the way if this happens every single night or this happens more often than not. Because we know this team, it's going to happen more often than not, these little hiccups that they have. Right? They're 4-6. They have 3 games, including this one, where they could have won. You can flip that, and now you're 7-3? Something like that. So just, if they're 7-3, we're talking about how this team is just exceeding expectations. And it's really, 1 or 2 plays in some of these games that could decide the difference. So this team is right there. They're not, they're not a lottery team. They are, they're right in their spot because of just growing pains, I would say, around this team. But as I said, with them being right there, you have to just take some of the, I'm going to call them silver linings from, games where you don't win. If you win, yeah, not everything's a silver lining, but there are, it's much easier to talk about positives. In games like this, unfortunately, it's an NBA Cup game. With the way these standings and, rules are set up, one loss and a minus 12 net difference makes it really hard to make it into the final stages and tournament in Vegas. It's still possible, but you really do want to have a positive net rating if you're going to lose the game, which is unfortunate because I thought this could be a year that the Celtics, just because of the roster and the situation that they're in right now, not going for a full-on NBA championship. But, these little losses really, put a giant hiccup in that. All right, but how they lost this game, it came down to, just some pretty bad, I wouldn't say bad, some bad fouls and some, tactical fouls early in the fourth. There was a really bad foul where, Neemias Queta misses a pretty easy layup and then is running back and he sort of trips on himself and, falls into, I forget who it was, but into the Magic player ahead of him and picks up a foul there. You have, Franz Wagner, which is a much bigger guy, going up at Payton Prichard or Derrick White, and Derrick White, slaps him on the arm. A tactical foul, but nonetheless a foul, right? And that's okay. Sometimes you need those fouls. But when the Magic are in the bonus, with 7 minutes left still in the quarter, and they're not a great offensive team, you're just giving them free points because what did the Magic do? The Magic continue to go at Pritchard, to continue to go at White, and force them to make decisions on whether they foul or let the easy points in for a layup, right? And what starts happening is they are getting caught in between Pritchard, White, and Simons, whoever was guarding some of those taller players, even a Josh Minot, would get caught in between, and they'd foul them, but not hard enough to prevent the basket, and you get these and ones, and the Magic were just able to pull away with how, I guess, how, I wouldn't say poor, but how stagnant the Celtics offense was. But I'm going to wrap it up here. Follow on social media. We will be back tomorrow night with a podcast episode with my father, as always. And then Sunday we will be back where the Celtics actually get a chance to get revenge. They play the Magic again in Orlando as well, so a little mini-series here. And we'll have a post-game show after that going into next week where you play the Nets a couple times and should be a pretty easy schedule for, a little bit here. And so, the Celtics have to capitalize. But, follow on social media. And once again, the Celtics fall to the Orlando Magic 123 to 110 in an NBA Cup game, falling to 1-1 in the standings, and 4-6 overall, 2-3 on the road, and just showcases the roller coaster start to this season. But until next time, go. Where is my outro? There it is. Go Celtics.